pleasant day to all my subscribers, my viewers, the Obedience family, active citizens, and Nigerians. Thank you for joining me once again. Now, recently, Dr. Meje Daturu on hard copy to analyze how Peter Obi and Tinubu will win the 2027 election. Watch this now.
It's a hard copy.
Thank you very much for having me today.
It's good to have you here with us.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk about politics and governance. There are people who are speaking about, and in fairness, they're referring to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu when they have this conversation, saying, oh, the president is an astute politician. But when it comes to governance, it doesn't seem to be delivering on the things that the Nigerian people want. Do you agree with this assertion? And then there's a conversation about, okay, so instead of flogging the dead horse, can we manipulate politics to where it actually now gives the Nigerian people good governance?
I would say we need to maneuver politics away from what it is now to what it ought to be in a democracy. You see, democracy is the best form of government, but because our politics in Nigeria has not been productive enough to enable democracy to yield dividends, so people are beginning to question the very essence of democracy in the developmental achievements or trajectory of Nigeria. So yes, I agree with a lot of people who believe that our president is an astute politician, and indeed he is. For somebody who grew through the ranks from opposition and found himself on the right of the seat of power, is definitely a good politician. But how about governance? I think governance has to be balanced with politicking. I mean, the base of politicking should be governance. Governance should be at the core of politicking. So all political decisions should be tailored towards improvement in governance. Anything other than that will be negative politicking that continues to, if you like, demarcate or delegitimize democracy and the very concept of electoral democracy, which is now a conversation across the African continent. And for somebody who is quite eager, who is a champion of democracy, I believe he should have made the difference. And I'm talking about President Bola Tinubu, who has a reputation and antecedent of fighting for the instrument of democracy in Nigeria. I had expected him to make that difference when he got the opportunity finally, after seeing it all.
Why do you think he's not? Because that's what you're alluding to, the fact that he's not.
No, he's not, because there's something that
What's stopping him?
There's something he has not done. Nigeria is not where it used to be. I had, admonished all of them that they contested the 2023 election to say, look, whoever wins the election, you have a very tough task ahead of you. And the first thing will be for the president of Nigeria, of course, leading the pack of Nigeria's political establishment, to take the conscious and deliberate step towards committing class suicide. And committing class suicide here simply means it's like becoming a born again. It's like putting or prioritizing national interest over and above personal, sectional, and partisan interest, and uphold the Constitution. That has not been done so far because the operators of the system currently are still in the mode of the old order, while Nigeria naturally has moved on with time, Committee of International Nation States. And so that is the problem we are facing today. So that refusal or that indecision to take deliberate steps towards committing class suicide by the president and, of course, the entire political class in Nigeria is at the very root of our current existential crisis.
Some people are saying that the president...
We are one country, and you can't develop any part of Nigeria along sectional lines. While I do not agree that the president is marginalizing the North in terms of appointments, in terms of patronage, I do not believe so. I believe, for instance, that within the equation of identity politics manipulations, as you like to call it, in the Nigerian system, the president is actually beholden to northern Nigeria from the way he appoints people from that part of the country, the way he tries to carry along that part of the country. In fact, the reality is that deploying over 68 of your top aides, led by the SGF, to go and interface with leaders of the North, simply tells you how seriously he takes the northern people in terms of electoral value in this country. However, on the other point about whether he's the fear of losing the North, also comes with an entitlement mentality on the part of the northern elite, who are used to power and who we have observed over time are always making this attempt to take power from the south whenever a southerner is in power. Now, for me, that's another factor. But the real factor here is, if you are strong on your game on delivery of good governance to the people, that in itself will not succeed. But the problem the president is having is, right now, he has not been able to deliver, he has not been able to improve the lives of Nigerians in terms of welfare, and also improve the security of lives and properties in Nigeria across the board. So there is a groundswell of opposition, both from the north and the south, against not just the president, but the establishment and the status quo. I had expected the president, having experienced a defeat in his own home state in his bid to become president, to realize that the whatever methodology he deployed to lead Lagos State wasn't working, wasn't acceptable in Lagos, and is not likely to be acceptable in Nigeria. But again, that consciousness appears not to have been there. I think he's set in his ways, and he's continuously trying to follow a path that he's used to. And that is why he's facing this kind of resistance. Let me tell you this.
Most older men
exactly.
face that situation.
The greatest danger the president faces going into the 2027 election, the greatest risk, is not even in the north. It's only the south. One would expect that at a time that the president is facing this level of opposition from the north, the ADC coalition, for example, is dominant in the north. Some of his former friends turned foes are the leading lights or the forces behind the ADC coalition. One would have expected that a southern solidarity, a unity across the south, as we witnessed between 1999 and 2007 under the Obasanjo administration, would have been used to actually negotiate a return to power. Because for me as a Nigerian, within this establishment arrangement, I believe that zoning is imperative and that Southern presidency for 8 years between 2023 is sacrosanct. And that if Tinubu is going to be replaced by anybody, should be a Southerner.
Not a Northerner.
Not a Northerner. However, the greatest risk, the greatest danger posed to that sacrosanct Southern presidency that some of us stand on the basis of principle is the president, his supporters, as one of those who claim to be supporting him, there are diverse activities across the south that has now triggered the tribal war in southern Nigeria between the Igbos and the Yorubas. Is the greatest danger, is the greatest risk to his presidency. I'm not even opposition from the north, and nobody seems to be talking about that south. On the basis of a north-south dichotomy, the president can have some leverage to negotiate power. But if, for instance, the southeast decides to say, look, we are being suffocated by our southern brother who is in power now, and try to align with the north, I do not see how our president can be returned. So there is another means of electing a president other than through the ballot.
Is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu going to win the next election in your view?
It depends on a lot of dynamics.
Such as?
For example, if he's able to carry out an overhauling of his policies. For example, I still believe that the policy that has thrown Nigeria into a bottomless pit of economic disorder, economic hopelessness, are the twin policies of subsidy on petrol and the flotation of the naira. If something can be done about these two policies, both of productivity and social well-being, and if he's willing to actually commit the much middle class society as we speak now, and people begin to see a change towards a new direction. Because like I said earlier, there comes a time in the life of every nation when the elite will rise up and say, look, through an elite consensus to say, enough is enough. In our own self-enlightened interest, let's begin to do the right thing.
But that's not going to happen.
It is in his own interest for it to happen, really.
In whose interest?
The president. Got to earn him a re-election. Look, when you have a fringe candidate, I call him fringe like Peter Obi, who claims and who says he doesn't give shishi, but is having this level of following, it tells you that Nigerians actually want good governance. And Nigerians are ready to follow any leader that leads by example. It is cheaper for the president to adopt the route of good governance to re-election than relying on structure that is very expensive to maintain and run. That is the class that I'm talking about. Look, it's a matter of taking the plunge. So I do not know, sitting right here, whether or not we will win the election. But a lot of odds are stacked against him because for me, the president is going to the next election with a huge. Go and read some of his statements. It tells you a man that is actually deep-minded and very brilliant for that matter. What we are telling the president is they direct this potential you have towards a better Nigeria, realizing that the method you have been used to is unlikely going to work. It didn't work for you in the last election. It won't work in the next election.
We do have to go on a break, Dr. Dahir. When we come back, you were talking about the president's speech. There's actually a compilation. I actually read it recently. There's a book that has been compiled of all the president's speeches, and it's something. Well, we'll talk about that and a whole lot more when we come back from this break. So please.
Where can they go? Very important question. The same way we are telling those in power today to consider committing class suicide is the same way we're going to tell those in opposition. Because in a democracy, responsibility on both government and opposition weighs equally. Because if you cannot successfully lead a sanitized opposition movement, you cannot actually lead a sanitized government or a sane government.
What are your thoughts?
Ordinarily should be sacrosanct. And I would have expected that given what happened in 2023 that destroyed the PDP, and the PDP right now is in intensive care unit, ATIKU and any other northerner who feels strongly that the president is not doing well should by now be filing behind a southern replacement for the president.
There's rumors that the PDP is going to zone its presidency to the south.
And that is one of the things that might resuscitate the dead PDP, because it would be a miracle to do that.
Should P2B go back to the PDP?
It depends on what they have in store for him. One of the miracles that can revive the PDP really is the PDP candidacy on that party. But I don't know how they're going to achieve it. I don't know whether the tendencies within the party that seems to have thrown their support ahead of even the election for the incumbent. I don't know how they're going to navigate that very thorny terrain. But one of the miracles that can revive the PDP and bring back to life is not just to zone to the south, but to pick somebody like P2B as his candidate. They would have made an atonement for their mistake in 2023. And whether or not they win the next election, it would have revived the PDP at least back to life.
The analysis is okay, but I don't want P2B to be dragged back to PDP because we can control PDP. That means they want P2B to vote for Tinubu indirectly. This style is not okay because Wike is in full support with Tinubu. That's why Tinubu have to make him the federal minister of SCT if despite he's in the opposition party. Have you seen how the politics is going? Wike have to abandon PDP, has to betray PDP. If that election to support Tinubu in order for him to gain the minister of to get the ministerial appointment, federal minister of FCT. Yes, he have to betray his own party. That make ATIKU not to win the 2027 election, and he lost it to Tinubu. If P2B moves to PDP, he will indirectly work for APC. You think Wike and the other governors will work for P2B? No, this is the style. This analysis is okay. What Dr. Major is trying to say is that if P2B should come back to PDP, P2B will revive PDP back to life. That is true. He said yes, this is a real thing. But if P2B is coming back to PDP, Wike should be suspended from the party to participate in the party because Wike is going to take what their discussion, what they discussed in their caucus to APC, and APC will now re-strategize another means to win the election. So if P2B is giving ticket in PDP, Wike should be suspended in the party. Because Nigeria, we are tired of having president that is not active. President that cannot add any meaning to Nigeria. Because Nigeria is collapsing. Is collapsing day by day, and there will be a time that we'll just wake up one day and everything, Nigeria, hunger will be killing people here and there because money are in the hands of people who claim to be kings in Nigeria, who claim to be their own turn to govern, and who they don't even know they don't even have the spirit and the leadership spirit in them to govern because people are dying of hunger in everywhere. Just according to what Dr. Medru is saying, if you go to the north now, you saw people crying, hungry everywhere, killing people. You go to Cross River State, hungry everywhere, killing people. You go to Benue, hungry everywhere, killing people. There are crisis everywhere, insecurity everywhere. So the land is filled with insecurity, and which the government has nothing to do. All the government focus is to steal money and put in their own pocket. He claimed that he's not there for the money. He has the money. He just need a name. Yeah, he said, I want a name. I don't need the money. I have money. Jagaban, I don't need a name. But right now, the debt, the rate in which Nigeria has borrowed money to, if you see it, you won't believe it. So we want a better government. We want a better country, a country that we can live to tell our students, generation students, that they will enjoy, and not a country that we tell our students that they were hunger everywhere, people were dying. No, please, let's revive this country back to life. I think Peter Obi will be the rightful candidate who can bring Nigeria back to life, because he's exposed. Yes, Peter Obi is very exposed, and I think he can manage this country very well, Nigeria country very well, and the ticket should be zoned back to South so that Peter Obi can win the election. Thank you. Please let me see your comment. Let me see your reaction on the comment section. Thank you.